I like it. Okay, well, not everyone is prepared, but you are. So okay. So
You want to test now?
yeah.
Okay. In our time together in worship is intimately connected to our daily lives.
That sounds
Is that
good.
okay?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I'll say these first words while you're lighting.
I'll do all the candle lighting.
No, you'll do that. But do you do that after I say this first group of words? Or, and then, okay, so I'll wait for you to light it and then start the second. Okay, and then I do a pause and you light the second candle. And then I do the Gabrielino. And and then you do a third. Right. Okay. Okay. All right.
You got it.
All right.
You're ready. And one of you will take this microphone.
Oh, okay. I'm taking this one. So does this need to be turned on also? Okay.
And I'll actually hand that to you because I'm gonna
Okay.
come down and say like,
Oh, you're
and like, this parables in the second window on the north aisle, and we hear the parable shared today by Teresa and Matthew. And I'm gonna read the microphone.
okay. And I say, Teacher, what must I do? Oh. And I say, Teacher, what must I do to experience the eternal life?
What is written in the Hebrew scriptures? How do you interpret their answers to your question?
Okay. Okay, even though we're talking into the mic. Okay. Teacher, what must I do to experience the eternal life?
What is written in the Hebrew scriptures? How do you interpret their answers to your question?
You shall love the eternal one, your God, with everything you have, all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself.
Perfect. Your answer is correct. Follow these commands and you will live.
Are we loud enough?
Hold it closer.
Yeah, a little bit closer.
Okay.
Because we want everybody to hear you, and we want the live people to.
All right.
Why don't you just try your line again?
Perfect. Your answer is correct. Follow these commands and you will live.
Okay, I think you're good. And when you're over, yeah, I'll come and Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna do that line. I decided
Okay.
because I think it's gonna be too weird to come take the mic. So just erase. I'm actually gonna erase it
Okay.
off of your script.
Okay. Okay. And then so I say, but who is my neighbor? And then you have a long speech.
Right. And so then when it's finished, I just guess the tone is off back on the stand.
Yes, I guess that's it. Okay. So, and then he's going to turn it off and put it back on the stand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
There we go. I've learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me. Give them no reason to stare, no slipping up if you slip away. So I've got nothing to share, no, I've got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Oh, can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? We start with stars in our eyes. We start believing that we belong, but every sun doesn't rise, and no one tells you where you went wrong. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Oh, can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me?
Come into our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the long-timers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the heart of our homes. Hello to those of you joining us on live stream this morning. Today and the next Sundays in March, each one of our worship services will take inspiration from one of the windows on the north aisle of the church. These windows depict the parables as told by Jesus. And this is also our annual pledge drive month. And this month, you're asked to make a financial contribution, a commitment to Throop. Our building was constructed almost 100 years ago, and this warm wood and the vibrant windows were meant to bring inspiration and hope for all who entered. This month, we ask you to consider the role that Throop plays in your religious and your spiritual life, and to make a pledge that's meaningful to you. If you're new to us today, we would love to stay in touch. There's an info card in the pew right in front of you. If you're online, we ask you to sign our online guest book. We're so glad you're with us this morning, and who knows what time it is? So early. Well, each one of us is a light in the world, and the flame from our chalice symbolizes and reflects that light.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected to our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light our chalice with a flame from our candles of hope and witness. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. We light a second candle to honor the people and ancestors whose land we now occupy. The land under and around Throop was once and still is the home of the Gabrielino Tongva Band of Mission Indian people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us to seeking justice and equity for all. We light our third candle, symbolizing our watershed, the Arroyo Seco. May their waters continue to nourish our communities. We take a moment of silence, holding all of these in our hearts.
And we welcome the morning with our opening hymn. It's Let This Be a House of Peace. It's number 1054 in the teal hymnal. Rise as your body and spirit allow as we sing together number 1054.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be a house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
And turn to a neighbor and welcome them into worship this morning.
Let in this house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide with reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our creation, where all works of and melodies that consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme.
Let this be our house.
Of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
Our responsive reading is called This House, and the congregation's response will be, may our windows allow the light of love to shine through. So let's try that together. May our windows allow the light of love to shine through. This house is for the ingathering of nature and human nature. It is a house of friendships, a haven to trouble, an open room for the encouragement of our struggle. May our windows allow the light of love to shine through. It is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every person. It offers a platform for the free voice, for declaring, both in times of security and danger, the full and undivided conflict of opinion. May our windows allow the light of love to shine through. It is a house of truth-seeking, where scientists can encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of seekers. May our windows allow the light of love to shine through. It is a house of art, adorning its celebrations with melodies and handiworks. It is a house of prophecy, outrunning times past and present in visions of growth and progress. May our windows allow the light of love to shine through. This house is a cradle for our dreams, the workshop of our common endeavor. May our windows allow the light of love to shine through. And this morning we hear a story from a couple of our Throop players in which they ponder some very specific ways to let the light of love shine through in this church.
This is called Once Upon a Time in an Eco-Friendly Fair Trade Coffee Shop.
Hi, Dave. I'm so glad I saw you at church and we could go out for coffee. It gives us a chance to catch up. How are you?
I'm fine, but enough about me. You know what I love about Throop?
I probably do, but I bet you're going to tell me anyway.
Well, I love all the renewed programs like Kids Dig In and the young adult and newcomer gatherings which engage our friends and family at Throop.
Me too. And there's classes and workshops, things like sermon writing, book groups, lunch bunch, and the choir.
And don't forget the community initiatives that support housing equity, rent control, and clean energy.
I'm so glad we've been able to make some building improvements on our 100-year-old church. I'm not even close to 100 yet, and I could use some improvements of my own.
Ha! You certainly could.
There are so many people working to make all that happen. Everyone's doing their part.
With time, talent, and treasure.
I really love Throop and the way it brings us all together. It's not just a Sunday thing.
Though I do love the services and the coffee and conversation immediately following.
I know. The coffee tastes better there. And some troopers are really good bakers. They've been bringing some awesome treats lately.
Hey, Terry, I meant to ask you, what was that orange poppy on your troop name tag?
Oh, that's my pledge poppy. It tells everyone that I made a pledge to Throop for the upcoming fiscal year.
How much do you have to give to get one of those?
Pledging's not about how much you can give. It's just a way to let the board know how much income they can expect to receive from the congregation so they can for the next year.
Well, I just put some money in the plate each week.
That's great. You can base your pledge on what you normally give and then just use the green envelope each week so they know how to count it towards your annual pledge. If they have an idea of what to expect for the next year, it's a lot easier to plan all the things we just said we love about our church. And they may even be able to plan some new things, too.
But what if I can't make a big pledge?
It's not about the amount you pledge. It's just important that you pledge. Every amount counts.
So how do I pledge?
It's so easy. You just fill out the card they'll send you in the mail or get one from Fillory. Look, here's mine. Like I carry it to coffee. You can return it by mail or scan it or complete an online form in the link in the letter.
When do they need it by?
April 21st. Oh, hey Dave, that thing from before about not being able to make a big pledge, does that mean I'm paying for coffee again?
I did forget my wallet. Again. But I pledge to get you next time.
Sounds good to me. Papers everywhere.
Thank you so much. And we pledge to take good care of our young people and kids dig in this morning. Thank you to our program leaders, Lynn and Kate. And we sing our young people into their program. The words of the song are in your order of worship.
For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be.
Our pondering moment is called To Risk. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk exposing our true selves. To place our ideas, our dreams before the crowd is to risk loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To hope is to risk despair. To try is to risk failure, and to live is to risk dying.
Why are those things you admire most in others the hardest to find in yourself? What is it about me that seems to determine I'm destined to life on the shelf? This this wait a bit character, trying to find whatever it is that I lack. 'Cause whenever they ask the real me to step forward, the real me takes a step back. Wait a bit, she says. Can't do it, she says. Wait a bit, she says. Never knowing what she's waiting for. While they're outgoing, why do I withdraw without conviction and yet somehow sure? A contradiction that will stay in my mind till the day that I find something more. I'm searching for something they say is within me, yet seems to be hidden from sight. But why should I search when it's not in my nature to come out and stand in the light? For my expectations are not all that great, just one dream that I'd hoped to fulfill. And yet when it comes to the moment of truth, I prove to myself I must still wait a bit. Am I just not fit to fly? When can I try? I watch the others as they scored and rose. It seems so effortless, but then who knows? Beneath the surface sometimes torment grows. I plucked up courage, for I knew I should pledge. So I stood on the edge, and I froze. A flightless bird gets by without the flight, but still I'm hoping that someday I might. He made me feel I could soar. Now only one thing's for sure. I'll have to wait a bit more.
Our congregation encourages us to take risks, hopefully mostly appropriate ones, risks of sharing your time and talent, singing in choir or speaking in worship. As Terry mentioned earlier, bringing in your baked goods, helping with the building in so many ways. We also welcome your gifts of treasure here in the church and all the ways that you help support our Throop community life, help us really be the church in the larger community. For those of you that are able to share a financial donation today, you can give in a couple of ways. You can give online. You can also give a gift here in the room. Barbara is about to pass an offering plate down the aisle. The ways to give online are in the order of worship, or they're in the live stream chat. And if you are making a donation in the room and you would like it to count toward your pledge, we ask that you use that green offering envelope. Thank you so much for all the ways you support our life together. The offering will now be gratefully received.
No longer forward nor behind I look in the hope or fear, but grateful take all good I find, the best of now and here. I break my pilgrim staff, I lay aside the toiling oar. The angels sought so far away, I welcome at my door. For all the jarring notes of life seem blending in a psalm, and all the angles of its strife so grounding in the calm. And so the shadows fall apart, and so the west winds play, and all the windows of my heart I open to the day, and all the windows of my heart I open to the day.
In a spirit of gratitude, we lift up all of those who have served in worship leadership this morning. Steve, our live stream operator, Charles for offering the chalice lighting words, Terry and Teresa and Matthew and Dave for offering readings in the service, Lynn and Kate with the children's program, Barbara serving as the usher and greeter, Megan, always for your inspiring music, Hillary for all of your administrative support, and Cynthia for making coffee and conversation, and Melanie for bringing in like a whole carload full of baked goods for us to enjoy after the service. Thank you, Melanie. Also today, we lift up the volunteer work of our development committee. That is Barbara, Rachel, Robert, Harlow, and Maureen. With Hillary, they are preparing the annual pledge drive materials, and they also keep an eye out for grants and other kind of revenue streams for us to help support our Throop community life. As we give thanks for the offering and all the ways that we support our community, I ask you to share with me the words of thanks that are in your order of worship. For the ministries of the church and our community, we bless our offering with love and hope. And we follow that each week with a promise to our planet. And those words are also in the order of worship. As members of the family of living beings on earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist of respect for the interdependent, with hearts filled with love for it, eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources, we promise to nurture the well-being of all life and of the planet itself.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
And you can sing along. It's number 1013 in the teal hymnal.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
Thinking about ways to keep our hearts open, I invite you to put a hand on your heart area. Gently close your eyes if that works for you. Take a breath in. Exhale. Take another gentle breath in. Exhale. Let yourself find a place of grounding. It seems especially important on this Sunday when the time has changed. Perhaps that is making some of you feel a little unbalanced. As you focus on your breath and your body, letting your whole self arrive into this space. We think about ways to open our hearts to ourselves, to our passions in life, to our calling. Opening our heart to what we know is true and beautiful. And we do this so we can be better prepared to open our heart to those around us. Opening our hearts to risk meaningful connections with others. To risk being held when we are in need. To risk not always understanding those we are closest to. And we open our hearts to those around us so we can be stronger together. To collectively open our hearts out to the world, which needs us to notice and pay attention and take action. It is our hearts and our hands and our minds that do indeed shape a more beautiful creation and a more just world. We spend a few moments in silence and stillness together, focusing on our breath and our bodies, thinking about ways we can continue to open our hearts to ourselves, one another, and the world. And for all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. Amen.
down that lonesome road all by yourself. Don't turn your head back over your shoulder, and only stop to rest yourself when the silver moon is shining high above the trees. If I had stopped to listen once or twice, if I had closed my mouth and opened my eyes, if I had cooled my head and warmed my heart, I'd not be on this road tonight. Carry on and never mind feeling sorry for yourself. It doesn't save you from your troubled mind. Walk down that lonesome road all by yourself. Don't turn your head back over your shoulder, and only stop to rest yourself when the silver moon is shining high above the trees.
These windows of ours are full of stories. They're full of a story of a group of Universalists who founded this congregation back in 1886. They gathered for the first time at the corner of Colorado and Fair Oaks in the building where now we have Pottery Barn. These windows tell a story of a group of Universalists who in 1923 built this building, and did so knowing that beauty is such an important part of inspiring people and in giving people hope. And then, of course, these windows also tell stories from the life of Jesus. On this side, we have the Beatitudes. Here in this great west window at the bottom, the words of the Golden Rule are inscribed. And then along the north aisle here, we have some of the parables of Jesus. And today I've asked Matthew and Teresa to help tell the story of one of the parables, the parable of the Good Samaritan.
Teacher, what must I do to experience the eternal life?
What is written in the Hebrew scriptures? How do you interpret their answer to your question?
You shall love the eternal one, your God, with everything you have, all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Perfect. Your answer is correct. Follow these commands and you will live.
Ah, but who is my neighbor?
This fellow was traveling down from Jerusalem to Jericho when some robbers mugged him. They took his clothes, beat him to a pulp, and left him naked and bleeding and in critical condition. By chance, a priest was going down that same road, And when he saw the wounded man, he crossed over to the other side and passed by. Then a Levite, who was on his way to assist in the temple, also came and saw the victim lying there, and he too kept his distance. Then a despised Samaritan journeyed by. When he saw the fellow, he felt compassion for him. The Samaritan went over to him, stopped the bleeding, applied some first aid, and put the poor fellow on his donkey. He brought the man to an inn and cared for him through the night. The next day, the Samaritan took out some money, 2 days' wages to be exact, and paid the innkeeper, saying, "Please take care of this fellow, and if this isn't enough, I'll repay you next time I pass through." Which of these three proved himself to be a neighbor to the man who had been mugged by the robbers?
The one who showed mercy to him.
Well, then go and behave like that Samaritan.
A couple of weeks ago, we started talking about some of the big words that are used, some theological terms that help us structure how we do church. Rebecca Parker, a Unitarian Universalist theologian, used the metaphor of a house as a way to help us understand these words. Our theological house is built out of our answers to the big questions of life. And in this house, the windows symbolize missiology. Missiology is a study of the church's mission in the world. And the word comes from the same root as missive and message. And so it's the calling we have to bring something to others, to bring something to the world, and to receive what others bring us. Through our windows, we can look out onto the world, and others can look in. As we look out into the world, we wonder, who are our neighbors? How are we called to relate to them? And what does it mean to be a good neighbor to one another? The parable we just heard invites us into a conversation about this. Amy Jill Levine, professor of Christian and Jewish studies, cautions us that there's more to the story that we just heard than by answering the question with, "Oh, be a good neighbor," just like the Samaritan. In her book, Short Stories by Jesus, The Enigmatic Parables of a Controversial Rabbi, she writes, "The parables of Jesus are meant to afflict us. If we hear a parable and think, I really like that, nice story," or worse, if we fail to take any challenge, we're not listening well enough. And so when you listen to the parable we heard today, what do you hear? When I listen to it, I hear a story about people who took a risk. The priest, the Levite, the Samaritan, the person who was hurt, they all took a risk by traveling alone on a lonesome road. Whether guided by the morning sun or by the light of a silver moon, the road down from Jerusalem to Jericho was fraught with peril. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho was an 18-mile rocky path that descended from 2,500 feet above sea level to Jericho's 825 feet below. The rocky path presented multiple dangers: floods during the rainy season, wild animals, robbers. People were cautioned, don't go by yourself. You should only travel in groups, and don't let anyone in your group fall behind. Those listening to Jesus share this parable, they would have known the hazards of that road. And hearing the story today, we listen to it and we think, how could the first two have just passed this person by? just kept on going when they saw someone lying in the road clearly in need. And we probably get a little judgy about them. But I started thinking, what if it was just that they were too scared to stop that day? What if they were concerned for their own safety? Stopping would have made them vulnerable. Vulnerable to wild animals, vulnerable to attack by the bandits who had hurt the person lying in the road. Maybe they were afraid of making a mistake. Maybe they thought, if I stop, I could cause additional harm to this person. Maybe they hurried on, fully intending to ask for help at the next stop. There are so many times in our lives when the path we are on feels so full of risk and danger. Maybe you've realized that your professional life is not as satisfying as it once was, and you're considering making a big career change. Maybe you're someone who's spent many years alone, and now you're beginning to think about taking the risk of love. Maybe you're someone who's felt really close to your family, and your family has ideas about humans that are so different from your ideas and so different from actually who you are. And you feel like the only way to be fully yourself is to risk severing that family relationship. Maybe there's someone in your life that you need to have a hard conversation with. And you know, to do so may risk that relationship. It's so tempting when our pathways of life present us with these dangers to just decide, you know what, we're just going to keep on walking. We're just going to pass it by. The risk is too much. I don't want to feel discomfort. I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want to feel hurt. I don't want to risk severing connection. When the Samaritan saw that person lying on the road, there was just something in the Samaritan's heart that said, you know what? I can't keep going by. He tended to the wounds, gave that person time and careful attention, and in doing so, opened himself up to the vulnerability of attack. And the question the Samaritan asked himself in that moment, it wasn't, who is my neighbor? But the question the Samaritan asked of himself was, what kind of neighbor will I be in this moment? How will I show up for myself in the world and for others? How might the world or my relationships benefit from me reaching out for another, even when that is risky business? The windows here in the sanctuary, they tell so many stories. Theological ideas and values from our past are embedded in them. Stories steeped in the wisdom of Christianity. But I think the most important stories really are the ones that tell who we are today and the church we are creating for the people we want to be in the future. And these stories answer the question of what kind of neighbor do we want to be? What kind of neighbor, what kind of help will we offer? And so let us be the neighbor that takes a risk on behalf of humanity. Let us be the neighbor who takes risks in being vulnerable. Let us be a neighbor that takes the risk in leaning into one another. After our worship service today and coffee and conversation. We have an action for you to take that won't be too risky, I don't think, for any of you. We have friends here from Making Community and Housing Happen, and they're inviting us to advocate on behalf of Senate Bill 4, which will rezone religious land across the state of California, and in that rezoning, make it possible for religious communities to build affordable housing. This will benefit so many people in our state who need us to be the kind of neighbor who will stop for a moment in coffee and conversation and fill out this letter. They have it all ready to go for you. I think you'll just need to sign your name. And let's continue to take risks to be the people we want to be and the community that holds us so well and that sends our love out to the world. And we sing a closing hymn, Lean on Me, number 1021 in the blue hymnal. And please rise as body and spirit allow.
Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. We all have things that you can borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road and I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on.
Put a hand on your heart and a hand leaning out to someone in the room or someone on live stream. Our chalice is extinguished. We take its light with us. In the days to come, remember your highest aspirations. Be inspired to bring your gifts of service and love to all humanity and creation. And may you know that you are not an isolated being, but you are connected in mystery and wonder and relationship. I love you all. Go out and love the world. Amen, and blessed be.
When you walk through the storm, hold your head up high. And don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm,